Now, let's look at one practice question to show you how to compute CPI and inflation rate. So you can notice from this question, it tells you, assume there is a typical consumer, right? And then it will buy 25 pounds of the meat and 15 pounds of the potatoes each month. And then it also tells you January is the base year, okay? So from this table, you can notice it shows you 3 months, January, February, and March. And then it also gives you the price of the meat across those 3 different months. And then the price of the potatoes also different from those 3 months. Then I will first write out the fixed basket, okay? So we have a fixed basket here. According to the given information, this fixed basket includes 15 pounds of the potato, okay? 15 pounds of potatoes and 25 pounds of meat. So this is the fixed basket. And then you should also mark this information, the base month. So the base month here is January, okay? So I just use JAN to represent for January, okay? So this is the base month. Then the first question asks you to compute consumer price index for February and March, okay? So what we need to do is, if we want to get the CPI in February, first we need to know the formulas to compute CPI in February. It will equal to 100, right, times the cost of basket in February divide the cost of basket in base year, in base month, which will be in January, okay? Then what can we get? The cost of the basket in February, we just need to write it down, okay? So the cost of basket in February, it will equal to, what's the meat price? $3.38, right? Times the fixed basket will have 25 pounds of the meat, plus the price of the potato in February equal to 60 cents. Times the quantity of the potato, which will be 15 pounds, okay? So based on this, you can compute the cost of the basket in February will equal to $93.5, okay? So that will be the cost of the basket in February. And at the same time, you can get the cost of basket in January, okay? Which will equal to the price in January, okay? So the price in January now changed to $3.50 for meat per pound, okay? Plus the price of the potato equal to $1.50 times 15 pounds, okay? So based on this, you can get the cost of the basket in January will equal to $110, okay? So here, you computed the cost of the basket in February equal to $93.5, and then the cost of basket in January equal to $110. Then you can get the CPI in February, which will equal to 100 times 93.5 divide 110, which will gives you 85, okay? So this 85 will be CPI in February. So similarly, we can get a CPI in March, right? So CPI in March, here will equal to 100 times similar, okay? The cost of basket in March, right? Divide the cost of basket in January, okay? So what we need to do here is to compute the cost of basket in March. Then the cost of basket in March will equal to the price of the meat increased to $4, right? And then the price of the potatoes also changed to $1.40. So here we need to use $4 per pound of the meat times 25 pounds of the meat, right? And then plus $1.40 for potatoes price times 15 pounds of the potatoes. So here we can get the cost of the basket in March will equal to $121. And then we can compute the CPI because we already know the cost of basket in January equal to 110. So let's get a CPI in March will equal to 100 times $121 divided to $110. Then it gives us the CPI equal to 110. Okay, so from here we can compute the CPI in February and the CPI in March. Okay, so this is the way that we can compute the CPI. We first need to know what's the fixed basket and then what's the base month. Sometimes the question might ask you what's the base year, okay? So first step, find out the fixed basket, and then you need to identify the base year. You also need to compute the cost of a basket in current month, maybe in February, divide the cost of basket in base month, and then times 100, okay? So don't forget 100, okay? Don't forget 100 here. This is important, okay? Don't forget 100. And then that will give you the CPI in February and CPI in March. Then the second question asks you to compute the inflation rate in February. So in order to get the inflation rate in February, I need to first write it down, the inflation rate formula, okay? So inflation rate in February, it should equal to CPI in February minus CPI in the previous month, which is in January, right? Divide CPI in January times 100%, okay? Then based on this, we already know from previously, right? The CPI in February will equal to 85. And then what's the CPI in January? So CPI in January will equal to 100, right? Times the cost of basket in January, right? Divide the cost of basket in base month. So which month is the base month? January is the base month, right? So based on this, can you get a CPI in January? The cost of the basket in January divide the cost of the basket in January. So this can eliminate, right? So we can easily to get the CPI in January equal to 100. So remember, any CPI in base year or base month will always equal to 100, okay? So based on those CPI in February and CPI in January, then we can compute the inflation rate. So finally, we can get the inflation rate will equal to 85 minus 100 divided 100 times 100%. So finally, we will get the inflation rate equal to negative 15%. So negative 15% means now the economy suffer deflation.